So, The Legend of Zelda. There's a lot of games.
But which one is the right one for you to start with?
Let's find out.
I recommend the CDI games.
Hello and welcome back to... What are you doing? Oh, not my nose! I'm Jake, and he's Luke, and we are here today to talk to you about The Legend of Zelda as you fix Link. Don't break Link. That wouldn't be good.
I'm not breaking Link. He's just sitting here.
Fits
in his little hat.
Breaking Link, the new hit series by AMC.
Where Link makes like Romani milk out of crystal meth.
Oh my gosh. Romani milk. By the way, if you ever played... Alright, let's not talk about this. I'm not going to talk about milk yet. I want to talk about something else having to do with Zelda. I'll get back to milk later.
So, me being a pretty hardcore Zelda fan, I've had a number of people come up to me and say, "Hey Luke, which Zelda do I start with? I want to get into the series, but I don't know which one to start with. There's just so many games spanning so many systems."
Yeah, and I got into Zelda, my senior year of high school.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, I wasn't a Nintendo kid growing up. I didn't really.
Oh yeah, you were one of them Sony kids.
I was one of them Sony kids, and then later on in life, I got into Nintendo.
That's okay.
And I was like, oh, Nintendo is so good.
That's okay.
It's so good. But my first Zelda game was not everyone's usual first Zelda game. My first Zelda game was The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.
Is that so?
Yeah. And it was great.
I see. Is that so? Like, I didn't know the answer, but I totally knew that answer.
Oh yeah, I know, because I bring it up all the time. But yeah, it's a great game. However, it might not be the right one for you to start with because it's a very unique game. And that's the thing about Zelda games, is every single Zelda game is extremely unique. So what we're going to talk about today is sort of what Zelda game matches you in a sense that you would enjoy it either the most, or if you haven't played the series before, first. Because that could make all the difference on whether you actually like the series or not. And I know some people who love some Zelda games and really don't like some others. So let's go through and talk about some of the Zelda games that there are that are good, that we recommend that people can start with.
I agree. What I would recommend is starting Zelda. It may not, tick everyone's boxes because, like you said with Majora's Mask, it's not a typical game I would recommend to a new player because of the weird mechanics. Yeah,
the weird mechanics. Zelda's there for one cutscene.
Yeah, it's a very unconventional Zelda game, and games like that, I'm like, oh, it's not very accessible, I would say.
It's not.
But if you're really into very dark themes, that Majora's Mask got you covered right there.
Yeah. On top of that, another very dark themed game would be Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess, that's actually a game I would recommend over
Majora's Mask.
It's
it's got that standard Zelda formula of, you do your first 3 dungeons, and then a big story moment happens, and then you do, 7 more. And it's got that. It's got a really well-paced story, really interesting dungeon design. Everything about Twilight Princess... Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Everything about Twilight Princess is pretty solid. I like to call it Toilet Princess.
Really?
Yeah, the Toilet Princess. And then...
yeah, because...
Right?
Twilight Princess is structured a lot like Ocarina of Time, which leads me into what I would say if you went up to me and asked, which Zelda should I start with? I would first say, do you have a 3DS? And the answer would most likely be yes.
Yes!
And I would say Ocarina of Time for the 3DS.
Oh boy!
That's what I imagine the definitive Zelda experience. It's my first Zelda. I got it way back when it came out.
Yeah.
That and Link to the Past were my first Zeldas.
Yeah.
And Ocarina of Time, I know it's cliche to say that's your favorite game, but it really shaped me who I am today. Because I have so many fond memories of the game, and it means so much to me.
Yeah, I like Ocarina of Time. It's actually, while I would totally recommend that's one that you go and start playing as maybe your first one, it's actually not my, it's not kind of close, I love it, but it's not close to my favorites.
And that's okay.
Yeah, mainly because I don't feel like it has that much replay value. I kind of did everything once, and I loved doing it once, and I was like, I don't want to go and do this again. But yeah, that's the only thing. I still love that game. It was a great adventure, and I think Twilight Princess took everything that made Ocarina of Time great and built upon it again.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think of them like both, like two sides of a coin.
Yeah.
You
and
can't
same
have
thing
one
with
without the
Majora's
other.
Mask. Yeah.
It's the sun to its moon. That's actually very good.
Do you mean Majora's Mask?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was saying Twilight Princess.
Oh,
Yeah.
I misheard what you said, but that's okay.
That's okay, yeah. Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time are very similar and very different in that regard. And there is one game that we haven't touched upon, and that is Wind Waker.
Wind Waker.
So if you like more of the sort of lighthearted, kind of, I don't want to say cartoony, but more so very heavily stylized sort of look, then you'll probably like Wind Waker. Just because it looks all cartoony, it's actually got a pretty serious story. It likes to play it off as silly, but underneath there's a lot of very good classic Zelda material that if you are still looking for a more mature story, you can still find it in Wind Waker. And you might like that game. It's got a lot of sailing, a lot of boating.
Yeah, it's a very timeless game.
Totally.
It's like 10 years from now, that game is still going to look good.
Yeah, even the original one that released on the GameCube, I know we have the HD remaster now, but the GameCube version still looks great to this day too.
Then if you're really into just exploring, finding all those treasure chests, it's very open-ended.
It's so much fun. And if you like that same art style, you could also go for Skyward Sword.
Now, Skyward Sword, I would disagree, is not a great game to start with.
Well, I would also say that Majora's Mask isn't a great game to start with. But I know people who have started with Skyward Sword.
And that's okay.
So
I'm not saying that if you start with Skyward Sword, you're going to have a bad time. But everybody has had a different experience with the motion controls.
Oh yeah, some people love it, some people hate it.
They're so shoehorned into the game that... So, I didn't have a problem with them, but I know so many people that have had so many problems with the controls.
Yeah.
And that's really going to hamper down the experience for some people.
So it could be 50-50 whether you think the controls will work for you or maybe they won't. But regardless, that's still a game that, even if it's not your first, you should definitely play and get your own opinion on, because I feel like, as far as Skyward Sword goes, so many people bandwagon their opinions. Like, I have not seen a game that much of a bandwagon opinion kind of thing, like, in video games since, like...
No, the same thing happened when Twilight Princess came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when Twilight Princess came out, it got as much hate as Skyward Sword is now. Because they said they didn't like how dark it was. They thought it was too similar to Ocarina of Time.
Which is what people wanted.
That's that's the Zelda cycle, but that's a topic for a whole new video.
Yeah.
But with the Skyward Sword, motion controls aside, if you want, like, a linear, story-driven Zelda experience, I would say that's a pretty good one to start with.
Yeah. There is one more game that I would say is an excellent one to start with, because it was one of them. It was one of the games. I think one of the first games that my cousin beat when she was playing with my other cousin, and that was A Link Between Worlds. And I know you haven't played A Link Between Worlds yet.
I haven't. I really want to.
Yeah, it's a great game. It has the same map and overworld as A Link to the Past, so if you played A Link to the Past, you would still kind of know where to go. And they are very much kind of like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are two sides of the same coin. Same thing with A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds. They're very much similar in a lot of ways and very different in a lot of ways, but they're both excellent to play, and I think you should totally go out of your way. If you have a 3DS, go pick up A Link Between Worlds. It's a great 2D Zelda experience.
Yeah, 3DS very good with the Zelda games. You got Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Link Between Worlds. I know I haven't played Link Between Worlds, but just going off my experiences with Link to the Past, it's a great game if you want less hand-holding.
Yeah, totally.
More of you want to go in your own direction, because you can sort of do the dungeons out of order. You can find items on your own.
Yep.
And in order to beat some of the temples, you might need an item that is not even in that dungeon.
Yeah. So what we wanted to get at today, the main point of our discussion, like if you're still wondering what game you want to play, think about what you like to see in games. If you like, simple cartoony stuff, go with Wind Waker. If you like really dark stories, really serious stories, really heavily cutscene oriented, go with, Twilight Princess. If you want like free roaming exploration, maybe Majora's Mask is your thing. So totally think about what you want to play, think about what you like in video games, and that'll help you pick what you might think is your best Zelda game, your first Zelda game, rather.
Yeah, I kind of like to divide it into whether you want a story-driven experience or an adventure going off on your own. I want to say sandbox.
Yeah, but it's not really sandbox. It's more like just open world theme park kind of, where it's like in Majora's Mask, for instance, you go to all these different four different regions, and there is a story to follow, but it's a little bit more open-ended. But it's still there. Like, you can still follow that story and not do the side quests.
That's true. And you can just do the side quests. You could do the main story.
You can do whatever you want to. So it's really great. But yeah, I feel like what we wanted to do today is mainly say, all right, this is what this Zelda game is like versus what this other Zelda game is like, and I think we did a good job.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But no matter what you start with, you're gonna get a great experience.
Oh, totally. You're gonna love the Zelda series. Just give it an honest chance. Oh, and be so ready.
The only debatable one is Skyward Sword, but you know,
Oh,
it's very mixed. It's very mixed.
I mean, we actually love Skyward Sword a lot.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I have my problems with it. Don't get me wrong, but I still really enjoy the game.
Yeah, it's a great one. Yeah, and I think that's mainly my main point. Just to say, at least give the series a go if you haven't. It's so good, and Breath of the Wild is coming out soon. So
yeah. If you have a Wii U or NX and haven't played Zelda, that's a good one to start with too. It's looking up to be a really good game.
Yes, it is. So you can find our Twitters right there and right there.
It's hands-on, best place to get new updates on our channel, what we're doing.
Yeah, totally.
What we're eating that day.
We both tweet a lot. I tweet on both our main Twitter and my own personal Twitter, and so do you. So you should follow all three. That's a good thing. You should do that.
That'd be a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitch.
Yeah, we have a Twitch. Throughout the month of October, we will be doing some horror live streams. I'm really excited for that. So
yeah, I am too. I'm gonna scream like a little girl.
I'll just be quiet.
You will. You'll be silently like looking at me being scared.